Councilor Beatty
Yes.
and this audience, a feasibility study is a very detailed, in-depth review of land, soil, testing. The engineer is here. He can tell you more about it than I can. The survey is simply just measures the ground. The feasibility study will determine what can be built on that ground or what cannot be built on the ground. And Councilor, excuse me, not any reflection at all, excuse me, no reflection at all on what Councilor Monroe is talking about. She reported last month that a feasibility study was done, that she had it on her computer, that she wanted to table the action, which delayed us another 2 weeks. And when Mr. Dodson reviewed it and researched it and talked with the past engineer, the engineer said no. A survey was done. We found the invoice for that at over $7,000. But no feasibility study was done according to the former engineer, the most reliable person to get the information from. So, for the benefit of Councilor Beatty and the rest of us here, those are the facts. And so we are going to now take the vote.
And we should have.
Okay, in favor, all in favor, Councilor Ron Cloud,
you want to continue.
you are out of order.
You just want to continue to
You
throw
are
money
out
away.
of order, Councilor.
Madam President, for
Yes.
point of clarification, for not only council's benefit, but for the residents' benefit, our former borough manager has stated exactly, and I'll ask Mr. Nafis Nichols to address the issue, and maybe for clarification, you'll understand, and we can move on from this point.
So I did just text and talk to the former borough manager. Council did approve a feasibility study to be done for that site. The engineer recommended that a telegraphic study, is that something?
Topograph.
That thing, what you just said, we actually did that. There was also some design work done by Mr. Ian Smith, who was the contractor. And then, at the request of the engineer, we stopped at that point. So the study wasn't done, but the telegraphic study was done, and some sort of design for the swim club.
Topographic.
Something. Yeah.
All right, so we're going to get a study.
Thank you, Mr. Nichols. Madam President.
Okay. We need to know whether we can build a rec center on the grounds. That's what we're trying to do.
Design showed a rec center in a mixture.
All right, all in favor, thank you, Mr. Nichols. All in favor, would you indicate by raising your hand? Those that are opposed, would you indicate by voice?
I oppose.
Okay, the motion carries 5-2. All right, okay. Okay, now, for the solicitor's report, Mr. Boggs.
So I gave my report at the 6 o'clock executive session. The only other thing that we worked on this week was the mayor, President Harris, the Public Works Chair, Councilor Jones Waters, and Lieutenant Burns. We came up with a decorum policy that was reviewed by the solicitor's office, and we said that that policy was reasonable. I do have a printed copy, but Lieutenant Burns did a nice job of explaining that to everyone, and I believe that this is probably the smoothest meeting we've had since I've been here, so I will pass.
So you're saying the words.
Trying to do a good job.
Okay, let's go. All right, tax collector's report.
I have a question reference to the tax collector. Why is she not coming to these meetings? Why is she not giving a report as she was elected to do?
You have to ask her.
You know, this is a problem that we don't have a tax collector visual here for these meetings to give reports. People want to know what's going on, you know, with the tax collector. I done got phone calls, so this is unacceptable.
We do have a written, excuse me. from the tax collector. Her report will be put on the website for all of you, for all of Yeadon, and anyone of interest. If you,
I'll say to let her know.
okay, yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. The other thing also is that she has regular office hours, just to make the distinction without belaboring the point. She is an elected official. She's not a part of the official organization of council. She's a separate entity. However, we accommodate, as we have historically, the tax collector in this administration building. So she has a phone number. You should leave her a message. If she has an email, you can communicate with her that way. But her report is provided to us, and it was provided at our workshop meeting. The total, I'll just give you the total tax collection for this period, for April 21, 2022, of $222,466.39 for the record. Yes, Councilor Jones Walker.
Is she showing up for the committee meeting?
Um,
Not showing up for the committee meeting?
I'm not certain.
The council.
For the workshop meetings, are you referring to the workshop?
I'm sorry.
I have not seen her at a workshop meeting yet, but I think that's a question you could probably call her directly. Or the Mr. Nichols, can you be the in-between person for the tax collector and for the council? Since she collects the taxes to run the town, if you could just bridge it. I don't know how you can bridge it, but.
Engineer reports. Mr. Nichols cannot.
Well, Mr.
The
Nichols.
tax collector is an elected official. That is her
We have
office.
communication.
That's her office and her duty. Mr. Nichols cannot intervene with her duties. Engineer report. And we should not be asking him to intervene with her duties.
Okay, that's what two councilors that generally don't agree have agreed. So, Mr. Nichols, I don't know if we need to put that to a vote, but we won't. The next is the engineer's report, Mr. Bakusa.
Thank you, Madam President. There's a button underneath Mr. Bruce. Update about this.
Doesn't seem to be working. I'll speak loud enough. I'll speak loud enough. Just a couple items that I wanted to bring up to council's attention. We've had a number of requests from both the Public Works Director, Jeff Wilkinson, and Rufus to perform a survey along the cemetery property and along the properties of Yeadon and Rundale. So at a future council meeting, I'll provide a proposal as to what that would cost. Trees are falling back there, and there's no indication as to where the exact property line is. So we're going to have to ascertain and get that staked out so that we'll know exactly whose trees are falling when they do fall. On March 9th, I met Jeff out on Lincoln Avenue. We have a serious sewer issue out there that needs to be resolved. I provided a memo to both Jeff and to Mr. Dodson, dated March 25th, that with using the Gargill contract for sanitary sewer repairs, in my estimation, would cost about $17,440 to make the repairs at this location. So I think I need council's approval to have Gargill proceed with those repairs at that location.
Do you need it? Are you going to put that motion on the floor now?
I think we need a motion.
Could you spell out the motion?
Yes, it would be to make the repairs on Lincoln Avenue using the Gargill & Sons annual contract with a total estimated cost of $17,440.
Okay, is there a second? It's been moved and properly seconded for the consideration to have the repairs on Lincoln, the sewer repairs on Lincoln Avenue at the amount of $17,440. Are there any questions? Hearing none, all in favor, would you indicate by raising your hand?
I'm in favor.
Councilor Monroe? The motion is unanimous. The motion carries.
Maybe I should make more motions.
Well, as long as you don't break out in a boogaloo.
All right. We did talk about this at the last meeting that I attended, and that is the work that Philadelphia wants to do, what they're calling the Mount Moriah Stream Bank and Cobb Creek Stabilization Project. It's at no cost to the borough, but we do have to get a motion for the borough to approve signing the forms that are required for them to do the permitting, FEMA permitting, because there is some floodplain modifications that will be done to the favor of the borough, by the way. The floodplain will be lessened in that area. Philadelphia is undertaking the project. It's at their sole cost and expense, but because they're permitting, because the floodplain does extend to the Yeadon Borough, the borough needs to approve the signing of those documents. So that also needs to be.
Can I have a motion? Second. It's been moved and properly second to coordinate with the engineer on the Mount Moriah project that involves the boundaries in Yeadon Borough. All in favor? Are there any questions? Okay. Hearing none, all in favor, which indicate by raising your hand.
I approve.
Councilor Monroe.
Councilman Monroe approves. She says it's a yes.
The motion carries. It's unanimous. Thank you.
And just the last item doesn't require a vote, but Mr. Dotson and I were on the phone last week with the Delaware Valley Regional Planning Commission. There was an application made last year for what they call a TA set-aside project. This involves Cobbs Creek Parkway, so we had to get on the phone with DVRPC to talk about the project. They had a number of questions. We answered those questions successfully, and today the governor announced that the borough would receive $1 million for that project.
Wow.
So there were not.
I think that's fantastic.
And Madam President, that's all I have to report. Would you like me to stay for the rest of the meeting?
Yes.
You're a good luck charm.
Thank you. There's one question for the engineer from Ms. Monroe, Councilor Monroe.
Right. So you said that this was the grant that was applied for last year when Mr. Nichols and Ms. Presswood applied for it?
Yeah, I would expect that. I would expect that the previous borough engineer was you know, there was not really any plans, but there were some sketches that Eileen Mulvaney had done, and they were submitted. And like I said, there were a number of questions that DVRPC had on the telephone conversation. These grants, we have done a number of TA set-aside projects. They are quite complicated. This is not something that will happen today. In fact, they advised us on the phone that this would probably be stretched out about 2 years because there's federal money involved in it. They require a lot of paperwork. But yes, that was applied for last year.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
I actually have a question, if I could, please. Just for the area on West Cobbs Creek between Fern and Cypress. I believe we just put some coal patch down there today. So when will that be completed? That's the first one. The second one is that area off of 65th and Chester Avenue. There's concern about that. I know that's been a concern for a long time, but where are we with respect to those two areas?
I mean, I guess I'm going to have to defer to talk to Jeff about that tomorrow, so I get a little more information as to, because I didn't know about the coal. I mean, I'm not involved in his day-to-day activity as to the coal patch. I mean, we did talk. The fact that Cobbs Creek itself will be completely redone as part of this project. So,
right, but that's going to be down the line.
Right.
So it was work. I think we just had work done there. The infrastructure work was just done there, and they put in the backfill or whatever, and it's been done since, like, I believe last year. So it started, the filling started coming out, and it's like all rocks in that
Right,
area.
which cold patch will do, right? I mean, it's not a permanent fix.
Right, so when will a permanent fix take place for that area? And again, the 65th and Chester Avenue, because that's been a thorn in our side for a very long time. Where are we with that?
So I'll talk to Jeff about both of those.
Well, didn't
Tomorrow.
Jeff, I think Jeff spoke on that before, and he said after they do the patching, they had to sit for, so.
There's a
so
waiting
they right,
period
so
for
they-
settlement, right?
For it to settle.
Right.
Yeah, so that's probably what it's.
Yeah, but this is the second time that they filled it.
I mean, it may be that the contractor just hasn't gotten to that point yet of, you know, because as Councilwoman just indicated, there is a settlement period, and he may not be ready to have, you know, he might have been able to get into town to do that permanent repair, so maybe they put another
So
temporary
are
patch.
you,
But I'll talk to Jeff
are
about
you
it
going
tomorrow.
to be involved in that project?
Yes,
So he should be communicating through you, letting you know when he plans to come back, and then you let us know, and then we'll say, okay, mark our calendars, and we'll wait for that date.
right,
So those are the two areas.
okay, I will talk with him tomorrow. Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bercuso. Finance, the committee reports are as submitted in the workshop.
Madam President, the only thing that I would add is that we will present at the next workshop a quarterly review of the borough's finances from January 1 through March 31st, the first quarter review. And also ask for council's consideration at some point to hold a public meeting related to ARPA funds.
Repeat that?
American Recovery Act funding, some people call it the stimulus money that the borough got.
Oh, okay, okay.
I have a question for finance.
Councilman?
Mr. Nichols, do we have in place some sort of process with respect to which bills get prepaid? Is there something in place? And if there is not, would it be beneficial for something like that to be in place? And if that's an affirmative, affirm, then would you be able to draft something to that effect?
So I actually wrote down, established a prepaid policy for council's consideration, that I will most certainly do that. General practice, this is from my expertise and what I've done in the last 15 years that I've done this. Anything that is approved in the budget that council approved is something that I would consider a prepaid that we should not hold. Examples of that, of course, is payroll, health insurance, workers' compensation, utilities, and things of that nature, because we know what those costs are going to be. They are line items in the budget, and in my opinion, can be on a prepaid list and send them out. I love you all dearly, but I will not get in trouble as a finance director for something like the workers' compensation bill that was due on a March list. If we don't have workers' compensation, that is a criminal offense.
Right.
And I don't want to see Lieutenant Byrne in that manner.
So, and so, excuse me, Mr. Director, that's why it was so egregious for counselors to walk out of this meeting, and those people were not the vendors,
Maybe you
were
need to
not,
describe what
hey,
point
excuse
of order
me, you're out of order.
No, you're out of order. Point of
The
order.
fact
We're
that-
asking
the
about
fact that
putting
something of that
practice in
nature-
place. We're talking about putting a practice in
vendors,
place.
not only give
But
us
you
the
prepaid Gary
reputation,
Core $6,500 some
gives us
dollars.
the
But you did that,
excuse me,
You
Councilman.
made sure your
You
friend
see,
got
this
paid.
disrespect, make
Now,
sure this
you
is
made
on the
sure your
record.
friend got
Make
paid.
sure this is on the recording so you can clip it out
Yeah,
and put
sound
that
like
on,
that.
on the.
Turn
on
it
the
right here,
media.
put it
Yeah,
on me.
that
Sound
on
like all
our
of that.
website,
All of it.
our website,
Yeah.
so that you can see
Yeah,
the
sound like it
disrespect.
and put it on
The
the website.
disrespect
Put
of the
sound
chair.
like it and put it on the website.
No matter
Yes.
who's sitting in the
Yes.
chair, there's always disrespect from that corner desk.
Mm-hmm.
over-speaking,
It's from Leanna
over-talking.
Roadcloud, Roadcloud.
Did you get that? Thank you.
Y'all make sure it's spelled correctly.
Correctly.
I asked for something to be drafted with respect to prepaid bills. And then you go off on a tangent,
Okay,
wanting to attack. That's what you do, because you don't want to be financially responsible. That's what you don't want.
Let the record show that we cannot have the reputation for vendors, hundreds of thousands of dollars have made commitment to serve this town, get gun shy because there's so much craziness that goes on here, and people cannot get paid because you were elected to vote to pay them. And you walk out and you can't, they cannot get their pay. That is not what you were elected to do. And that needs to be on the record. Right is right, wrong is wrong, yes. So the motion, excuse me, the motion's on the floor, all in favor?
Oh, the
To accept? No, we submitted those at the workshop. Yeah, motion to accept. The motion to accept, I was just giving correction. Okay, it's moved and properly second.
Madam President. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay. To accept the committee reports as were provided at the workshop. Okay. All in favor, are there any questions with regards to the committee reports? Hearing none, all in favor, which indicate by raising your hand. Ladies, are you in favor of accepting the committee reports as they were provided in the workshop? They double back. They double back. Okay. Those opposed? Okay. Hearing none, the motion carries.
Madam, may I be recognized, Madam President? There's a motion on the floor to accept the committee reports from the letter A down to the letter E, C. All the reports to be motioned on. Council President is asking for a motion. Councilor Waters has first and Ms. Johnson second. Council President is asking for a motion at this time.
Except with the exception of C subsection A, which is consideration for hiring Karina Sims as a full-time code enforcement officer, with the exception of that vote.
What's the exception?
The exception of that vote, it will be voted on independently.
Yes, okay, thank you.
So you got it now?
Yeah, I got it.
We never voted on committee reports. What is this?
That's what the vote on the floor is right now. That's what the vote on the floor is, Councilor Roadcloud.
But we don't vote on committee reports.
We vote on
starting
accepting
today?
the reports,
Oh, we
ma'am.
started today. All right.
No, not as today. We have historically
No, we have.
voted to accept the reports as provided in the workshop, the caucus meeting, for the past 20 years.
No, we have not.
Okay, so, Councilor, that's your opinion.
No, that's a fact. That's a
Okay.
fact.
So, Council President, I just want to mention something about the Community Affairs Committee.
Yes, please.
Okay. So this committee discusses issues, concerns, and gives suggestions in improving the community.
Can you take your mask down?
This committee also focuses on community programs and events. This committee meets every fourth Wednesday. We have about 9 members. to attend these meetings. In our last meeting, the attendance included Mayor Hopkins, Donna Samuels, Councilwoman Brent Johnson, Terry A., Tony S., Leslie M., Tony M., Murray, Tracy, and Alicia S. What we discussed in that meeting, we talked about the welcome committee for new residents. This is something that Yeadon Borough has done in the past years. We have discussed about block captains, changing that to like block leaders, because there's some exceptions to being block captains. We discussed about the Community Appreciation Day, in which this is an annual thing that we have done in the past years. That's going to be in September. We'll give you a follow-up update on it at another time. We had a food drive. The food drive was April 9th.
Distribution.
Okay, give me a moment. So, we had a food drive. And we also talked about the senior activities. Also, last Saturday, we had an Easter egg hunt, in which the children enjoyed themselves, the parents were gracious, and it was a pretty good turnout. So I would like to ask for the chair, the citizens chair of the community, the Community Affairs Committee to get up and briefly say something about the food drive.
So that would be me.
Ms. Terry.
I'm Terry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I have a dad back, and I also have my grandson with me. So I've been a resident here in Yeadon for about 6 years, since he's been born. I decided to move from Philadelphia to move here to Yeadon because I felt like it's safer. During the time that I grew up in Philly, I volunteered at a food bank, 59th and Lansdowne. It's affiliated with Keep It Real Ministry. We get food from Philabundance. We also get food from Wawa. It's all legal. We have all the paperwork. And because I am a resident of Yeadon, I just felt like we needed to have something here for our residents, so we didn't have to always go to Philly. So that's when I got in touch with the council and decided maybe we could do a food drive. And not only a food drive, but a food bank. So, I'm sorry. That's okay. So we're going to do it every second Saturday of the month. All are welcome. You don't need to have anything, no ID. You don't have to check anything. All you need to do is bring bags. If you don't have bags, I will make sure that some is available to you. The location is right here in the borough on the
Second floor.
second floor. If anyone wants to volunteer, you can come out and help volunteer. All we're doing is putting out canned goods, all non-perishable items. Sometimes we do with meat, but I think there's an issue with the refrigerator. So they're going
It's
to.
a new one.
It's a new one. Okay, so we will be giving out all types of food. And again, if anyone needs to see any papers as far as certification goes, I have all of that. Great. I don't know from you, because I seen you. What kind
My
of
question
questions?
is the borough taking liability with the meat spoil? Has that been discussed with the solicitor, or is there any liability for you facilitating the food drive?
So I would say this, we did not have meat at this last one. However, there is a freezer. We had to buy a new freezer. And so I would request that if we are getting meats in, that we get it the night before, so the meat can stay frozen.
But I guess maybe my question was, have we confirmed with the solicitor that there is no liability with us storing food, shipping things out?
Yeah, there should be indemnification under the broad spectrum of the comprehensive insurance that covers the borough and anyone traveling to and from or inside of this building.
And thank you, Council President Harris, for actually being able to answer the question.
And I appreciate it as well.
No, I can ask it.
I think the mayor reminded me.
I gave her the answer,
But you reminded me, it is true.
but you do.
Okay, thank you, Terry. Thank you, appreciate you. Okay, so moving on, I would like for for Miss Tony to talk about the Easter egg hunt. This is the other committee person.
I was there.
Oh, and I will say that Council President Harris, as well as Mayor Hopkins, was in attendance. Thank you for coming.
I'm there too.
May I
And
May I ask something?
Terry,
Could you come, Terry, could you go to the mic?
Terry, I'm Tony.
Tony, I'm sorry. Thank you, Terry.
It's over.
I said, thank you, Terry.
Because I always want to be a part of what's going on in the community. I am a community activist. I come here from Philadelphia, and I'm glad to be a part of what's going on. Community affairs is important to me because it has a lot to do with what we are doing in here. Just trying to get everybody together to just agree to make a wonderful environment. On Sunday, the kids became my Saturday, my attention. I was about to board a flight, woke up, it was a day that I was able to relax, and then I remembered I just really wanted to get out and finally do something. It was a wonderful day. It was a fun day. It was a day in which I saw community and people coming together. No one argued over eggs and candy, and it was just a smooth operation. There was great volunteers, a lot of participation because the children were on our mind and having fun. And it was just really great. There was more than enough help. That's why I snuck out, Councilwoman. And it was just great to see everybody coming together. The children had a good time. We'll talk about some of the great things. I see how y'all are spending money and giving out money. I can tell you where we could use some money for the kids on that particular day for like fun stuff, a DJ, you know, clowns, a quick stage, those kind of things. So we'll talk about it at the meeting. I just wanted to throw it out there and just tell you we had a great day, and I enjoyed it myself. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Great weather.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
And may I add something, Councilwoman? We had a senior come to one of our workshops, and she was talking about how a lot of seniors are hungry and they need food. Would you please pass the word that Councilor Jones-Waters is distributing food that second Saturday of the month, because I think a lot of them could really use it.
Living and limited sources of income, we're actually eating cat food and dog food instead of being able to buy food. So when Ms. Terry recommends this food drive that Councilor Jones-Waters has initiated here, it's not to put anybody on the spot, but I think the sensitivity to community, and we are our brother's keeper. We are responsible. Once we hear a need, we have a responsibility to respond to that need. And so as many of you that are here tonight that have joined in with Councilor Jones-Waters and Councilor Vice President Loren Johnson, whose finger on the pulse of these committee meetings and of these this kind of information that's coming to us, that we have an opportunity to respond and to preserve the dignity of every resident that lives in this town. We thank you for your input, and we will follow through. And Terry, yes.
Okay, so I just want to piggyback off what she said, because no one should be eating cat or dog food. If anyone knows, and even if any of you are in here, if anyone knows of a family who's in need of food, minus the meats until I get clearance on what I can do, I can make a box and we can give it to that family. I can give it to whoever wants to give it to that family. If they don't want their names known or anything, they don't have to sign up. I don't need to know who it is. I just need to know how many people are in the family or in the household. If you get with me, I'll make sure that happens.
Thank you, Terry. Thank you. Thank you. We'll put this information on the Borough website. Yes. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. There's ordinance and zoning. The consideration for hiring, correct. The next motion that we'll be entertaining here tonight is consideration for hiring Karina Sims as full-time code enforcement officer. Can I have a motion? It's been moved and properly second for the hiring of Karina Sims as a full-time code enforcement officer. Are there any questions?
I have a question.
Councilor Monroe is recognized.
So the list that was provided, are we considering other members on that list as well? I know that this is the first one that's recommended, but is that list now the established list that we'll use going forward? Or is it just for this pool of candidates?
Yeah, I don't have an answer for that. Mr. Johnson? She had said something about a list. Was there a list? We had the meeting in the executive.
Like 6 people, and we took 3 people off.
There were six candidates for the
So
job.
when you're gonna hire next person, or are you gonna use that list to go to the next person?
Probably never, no, I would start the process all over.
Okay. So this person was a prevailing candidate, and if there are any, your comments are duly noted. Are there any other questions? Hearing none, all in.
Didn't answer the question. Is this list will we continue?
The answer was
to
no.
answer this list?
The answer was no. That a new list will be created for any future vacancies. And yes, there were 6 candidates, and this person prevailed in the interview and in the experience. Okay, all in favor, which indicate by raising your hand. Those opposing, which indicate by voice.
I approve.
Councilor Monroe, your vote.
Yes, but it doesn't make sense to create a list where you're not going to use it.
Okay, the motion is unanimous. The vote is unanimous. The motion carries. Next item for consideration was submitted by our Public Works Director for the consideration of approving the removal of shade trees by Jeff. I'd like to put the motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. Are there any questions?
I have a question.
Councilor Roadcliffe.
So when these shade trees are removed, what are we doing to replace the shade trees? Because we're supposed to be a tree-lined community. So if we're removing all the trees, now we're just going to be a concrete jungle. So what are we doing to replace any shade trees?
May I answer that?
Councilor Johnson will give a response.
The director has stated that the trees will be removed, the shrubs will be, the stumps will be removed as well, and then trees will be put in their place that will not exceed the electric lines.
So what type of trees? Because you're still putting trees in front of people's properties. Shouldn't the community have like a say in what type of tree they would like to have?
Well, they have gotten to the point with which trees they're going, what type of trees they are going to replace, but I think we'll find that out in next month's workshop. Please attend.
May I
Okay.
recognize, please?
Yes.
One thing we can assure you, Councilor, is that the borough will not make the mistake of planting trees between the curb and the sidewalk where they are tearing up the concrete blocks on people's property. That is the one thing that we did have a discussion about.
Thank you for that. However, the trees that are actually tearing up the sidewalk now, they have been there for years, a lot of years.
Well, they were not the
So-
right trees.
They weren't the right trees, but they've been there for years. And we still need to have a tree-lined community.
Well, we will. We will.
And the community needs to be involved with respect to which type of tree they would like to have replaced.
Okay. We'll take that into consideration.
Oh, you'll take that in consideration to include the community? Thank you. Oh, I didn't know you had to take it into consideration. The community should always be included, period.
Okay. All right, the motion is on the floor. Any other questions, Councilor Beatty?
Well, you kind of answered it. I was just curious as to what was the point of doing it. So you answered it already. Thank you.
And you're welcome. All in favor, which indicate by raising your hand. Any opposed?
I oppose because we have no replacement plan.
Okay. Councilor Roseman.
I oppose as well.
The vote is 5-2, the motion carries. Okay. As was mentioned earlier, several of the committees and departments reported on the workshop meeting of the first Monday. So the police department's report is attached to the agenda. It will be posted on the website. The fire department's report, the emergency management report, the recreation report, public safety report. So, and since Councilor Vice President Loren Johnson, she will give us an overview of the recreation report, but the other reports will be accepted as provided at the workshop. And we would encourage each of you and other residents that will view this meeting to please come out on the first Monday night at 7 o'clock on the second floor of this building. Those reports are just extensive, and you get to hear firsthand everything that these departments and these managers are doing to fulfill their responsibility to you, the resident of Yeadon. So Monday, first Monday of the month at 7 o'clock on the second floor is our Yeadon Borough workshop, formerly called the Yeadon Borough Caucus. You'll have opportunity to ask those directors of those departments any questions related. And as Mr. Nichols has indicated earlier, he will be providing a review of the first quarter finances here, how your dollars are spent, and any questions you may have in regards to that. Where the budget is, how much of the budget that we have spent this quarter, and what's remaining. So we would appreciate you coming out.
And
Recreation
Council, if I may, I would like to state, for the Lieutenant, Mr. Wilkerson, Rufus Stokes, everyone, their reports I found excellent. They're all excellent.
And yes,
thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. Now for the recreation report, Councilor Johnson.
Thank you. There will be a movie on Juneteenth at the library on Friday, June 17th. Flag Day will be Saturday, June 18th. And on they will have a Juneteenth celebration at the Now Swim Club on Sunday, June 19th. So we'll have a succession from the 17th through the 19th of celebrations.
Can you repeat 17 again?
Yes, there will be a Juneteenth movie at the library on June 17th, Friday night. Flag Day will be celebrated on Saturday, June 18th. And Juneteenth, the actual Juneteenth celebration for Yeadon will be at the Now Swim Club on Sunday, June 19th.
Now, for Flag Day, will you still have the parade, the cars?
We're not going to have a parade. This is more like a welcome back. Let's have some camaraderie. Everyone's been in the house for 2 years. We're closing off Church Lane from, I think it's Penn Street down to Parmley. We're going to put a stage in the middle of the street, a big stage. Working on entertainers that are coming, jazz bands. We're going to have some African drummers. We're going to have rhythm and blues. We're going to, I'm actually looking for, if anyone knows of a nice young group that does gospel hip hop, if you would please give me a buzz and let me know, because we're looking for some young people to share with the young people. And also, we'll have Perennials of Love Day on May 14th. When I was on council previously, I asked residents to please plant a flower the Sunday following Mother's Day. It's a 5-year plan in order to bring back that beautiful look that Yeadon had many, many decades ago. I used to drive across the bridge just to come to the pantyhose store. And I thought Yeadon was such a pretty, pretty place. May 14th, Perennials of Love Day. Please get a perennial, plant it on your lawn. And you plant the perennial in memory of someone you love that you lost. And we've all lost people that we love in our lives. Let's bring some beauty back into this community. Let's have some camaraderie. Let's do some good things together. Thank you. Also, I will be donating 3 tickets to the Philadelphia Flower Show. I'm into this flower pack. And we're going to have a drawing on Flag Day. And 2, maybe 3 people will be lucky enough to attend the flower show. If anybody is interested in attending the flower show with me, please call upstairs, 610-284-1606. Give your name, number, and address, and you must be a Yeadon resident. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor.
Are we having?
Oh, yeah, we are having fireworks on Flag Day. We did put a deposit down, and I believe the price didn't seem to be that bad at all, actually. But we will have fireworks at dusk, and we will have entertainment from 1 p.m. through 7:30 that evening, and give everybody time to get over to Kerrfield, go home, get something to eat, get a snack, whatever, and get over to Kerrfield so we can have some fireworks. We're gonna have hot dogs. We'll have a layout for everybody, yeah, when that time comes. But we're just starting to work on everything. But I think it's gonna be a really, really nice day. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councilor Johnson. Old business. No, I'm sorry, public safety, Councilor Jones-Waters.
I just wanted to mention that the Public Safety Committee also meets on the 4th Wednesday. In our last meeting, Mayor Hopkins was in attendance with that, and I just wanted to just name a couple of things that we discussed, Mayor Hopkins, as far as the structure of the safety committee. We were talking about the street lighting, brighter lights, something that we always pretty much talk about. One person mentioned about the police badges with no names. Hopefully, I don't know if you got that right.
It's addressed. Everybody has better. Everybody has better.
No, the GPS, and of course, we didn't mention that, but that's something new that just came up. The police cars, has that been?
The decals.
Police cars.
Yeah, everyone has badges. Now, the decals, that's in the process. The ones that, some of the cars do have decals. Some of the newer cars didn't. That's in process, right, Lieutenant Burns?
That's right.
Yeah. The GPS is something else we got. That's a safety issue. I don't know if we want all the police, but it's something we'll have to talk about.
Yeah, but, you have a question?
No, I was asking, do the police cars have a GPS tracking system? And if so, who's
My understanding, I don't believe they have a GPS tracking system, but we don't want, yeah, that's not something that's something that police do. It's not something that police do. Police track criminals. They don't need to be tracked, otherwise they can't do their jobs.
We'll table that.
But yeah, we
discussion for
talk where things are valid, the name tag, and that kind of got away from us. It's not, some folks lost it and all, but that was always a policy. So everybody has them now, those back ordered. And there's only a couple of cars, I believe, that didn't have the decals, and that's been addressed.
Okay, the other conversation with regards to the police department, in review of the standing policy and procedures that govern the police department, it is required by this council every 3 years to adopt a new code of conduct for the police department. It is standard operating procedure. Upon review, our police department has not been, the council has not approved this operations policy for the past 7 years. So that is in the works now, and we did receive assistance from a county agency that reviewed and provided letter verification of their recommendations for our police department. So we'll be sharing that information with Lieutenant Burns and with the mayor. I just want that on the record, and so that this council will also be able to take a look at those recommendations and vote on that policy that is required by law, by the borough ordinance and by state statute.
Madam President, may I
Yes.
ask a question also, Mayor? I was told by several police officers that they have not received new uniforms in 2 years. Has that been taken care of?
I'm not aware of that.
No, the officers that in the uniforms got uniforms, and I actually have a box of uniforms that I just.
So they have arrived?
That's
Okay,
correct.
thank you.
All right. Thank you. Any other observations for public safety? Councilor Jones Waters.
One more thing, it also was mentioned, and I believe about the local alert system. So, I would like for us to
I've always
entertain that.
been for a robust alert system is something that we could discuss, but I've always been for ramping that up, or whatever we could do to make that easier for residents and make it widely advertised so that it facilitates quick communication to residents. I'm always for that.
Is that the Delco alert, Mayor?
No, we want more local.
Yeah, the Delco alerts is good for
Or you
what
feel
it
like
does,
the
but
311?
something, something more robust, than that. I'm for that.
Okay. Thank you, Councilor Jones Waters. Under old business, consideration to approve the retention of the law office of Carl Ewald, PC, as special counsel for the restored zoning appeal and authorize council president to execute the retainer agreement and joint representation letter.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. Are there any questions?
I have a question.
Councilor Rowe.
The same as the last meeting, this is a clear conflict of interest, just because it may not be illegal, any legalities with respect to the conflict of interest, but morally, it is a clear conflict of interest. He represented a group of individuals, including yourself, as private citizens to go against the borough. Now you're asking the same solicitor who came out and denounced the borough, saying that the borough did something inappropriate. Now you want that same solicitor to come and represent the borough. So it's a conflict of interest. We should not have another special counsel. We already have a zoning board counsel, Mr. Iannelli. This is a waste of money, and it's going to create such a problem for us, in addition to all the other problems that's going on. Like I said, solicitor, even though it may not be a legal,
She's not talking about
it may not be a legal issue of it being a conflict, but morally, it's wrong. Just because it's not legally wrong doesn't mean it's not morally wrong, and it should not be
It should not be done.
Any other questions? Any other comments? Okay. All right,
Councilor Monroe also would like to be recognized.
okay, Councilor Monroe.
So is it my understanding that in representation of you, this gentleman was paid, or is this motion now to fulfill a debt that you had prior to Mr. Ewald? Because it is recorded that Mr. Ewald said to a group of individuals at St. Michael's Church that the borough made a mistake. Taking that position, he's already in a position not to be able to defend us. So did you all pay your bill, or are you trying to pay it on the back of the
Well, Councilor Monroe, I'm gonna, just a moment. The fact of the matter is that, as a private citizen, as a private citizen, along with 100 other residents of Yeadon who were not informed of the dispensary coming to this community. We were in the dark about it. And once we found out about it, we protested because we wanted to make sure that the residents had a right to know. And you may have people on both sides of an issue. Some people want it, some people don't. And you cannot infringe upon my right not to. Councilor Roadcloud protested against the dispensary with a number of us after we found out about it.
Point of order. Let's get back to the issue. We're not talking about, first of all, I can speak for myself. I know what I did with respect to the dispensary. I protested against the location, but once I found out that the dispensary was legally able to be located in that area,
and it is
then I felt that. Well,
there.
when I found that out, I felt that. So at the end of the day, you as a private citizen was represented by Pearl Ewald. Now you want to bring your private attorney to represent the borough. It's a conflict of interest. It's wrong. We already said it may not be a legal conflict of interest, but it's still a moral conflict of interest, and it's wrong. And like Councilor Monroe indicated, is this an attempt to pay a debt that you created from the backs of the taxpayers? There we go. That's a understandable question. Again, conflict of interest.
The answer is no.
Conflict of interest.
The answer is no.
And we're supposed to believe you?
And
Conflict of interest.
Conflict
of interest. That's why we should not have this gentleman representing the borough because of these types of questions.
Counselor,
There
are rumors on the street that people have taken money from the dispensary. People present and people absent. Do we propagate that?
You're missing
I don't have any evidence of people taking money from the dispensary, inviting them here.
You're missing a point.
Excuse me,
This
Counselor.
was your personal
You are giving allegations.
This was your personal
This is not my personal
attorney. He
attorney.
was your
That is
He
not
represented you in a personal capacity.
Counselor, you're
What are you
wrong.
talking about?
Counselor,
What are you talking about? You're not
He represented
truthful.
a group of
He represented you in a group of individuals in your personal capacity.
Just let it go.
We're gonna go with the vote.
No, we have a zoning attorney. We have a zoning attorney. We're not paying the bill.
If there is not a conflict of interest.
There's a conflict of interest.
After
We
this
should be
discussion,
paying your bills. We
I'm
should not be
calling
paying your
for
debts.
the vote. Okay, we've got comments. All in favor of retaining the law office of Carl Ewald as special counsel for the Restore Zoning Appeal and authorize council president to execute the retainer agreement and joint representation letter, would you indicate by raising your hand? And those opposed? Would you indicate by voice vote?
I oppose.
The motion carries.
Can I say something? I appreciate Councilwoman Brooks saying that she was against the location.
The location. We're all saying that. Against the location, not against the dispensary.
That's hopeful. That's hopeful.
It's against the location. It's not authorized to be there by the zoning board.
Ms. B, did you vote?
Okay. All right, we're done with that. The Citizens Forum. Now the party begins. Miss Liz, and you have 3 minutes, and it's on the agenda items only. 3 minutes on the agenda items only.
Well, I was going to ask why you haven't already fired Gary Corr from Malfeasance, but you just admitted a little earlier that he is doing what you want by plastering social media and the borough official government website with editorialized sound bites to retaliate against Liana Roadcloud for revealing your true reason for firing the chief. How is it you just approved paying Gary Corr $8,000 for the month of April? The bill was for videotaping, live streaming, and web design. He has done no live streaming. He has done no web design. Muddling up a website somebody else designed is not web design. The videotapes he's posting on YouTube and on the borough website are not complete. The last workshop meeting is missing 45 minutes. He's posting... Just like Trump. You're allowing, you are approving, you are encouraging him to censor the residents. Why are you violating Chief Paparo's contract and refusing to pay him the 776 hours you owe him? That's a contract. And you nailed him to the cross for violating that confusing contract about overtime for police officers? And now you're violating his contract and you're ignoring me while I'm talking? And you're counting my 3 minutes? And you got your head turned and you're having another conversation? And your social media policy that's like nobody should use the borough emblem without a caveat saying this is your personal view. What about that 10 fast facts thing you mailed out with the borough emblem? How do you not understand what a hypocrite we all see you as being? And your response? You're just going to keep talking to other people while citizens are trying to talk to you.
You have 3 minutes.
How much more time do I have? Last time you talked for a full minute. 54 seconds. Very good. Because last time you talked through me and then you tried to say I was talking for 10 minutes. Well, you know, it's on videotape. Not Gary's videotape that the residents can see, but you know, the private videotapes that the residents took, that the residents can also see to compare.
Oversight.
What are you paying Joel Avery for? That's a personal agenda. This is embezzlement. Hiring your personal lawyer. This is embezzlement. This is improper use of the funds that are entrusted to you. And you fired the chief for fiduciary irresponsibility. You claimed that was your fiduciary responsibility to fire him. You doubled the fee for the cost of the salary for the borough manager by giving him a $25,000 raise and, is that the timer? And hiring him an assistant. So now we're paying twice as much for half the service.
Answer the question.
I'm having trouble reading a person by the name of A-G-I-O-N-T.
Put in the question.
I don't give my time to you.
No, you can't, yeah, you can't give the time to. How do you pronounce your name? I'm sorry.
It's G. Antonio.
G. Antonio.
Yeah, I'm trying
Your
to
print
find
was so small, I couldn't.
Yeah, I know. I'm a private person, so it takes an awful lot for me to get up here and say stuff, but it's important to me. One of the things that I first heard today, which I'm really upset about, and I feel that any of the police that are serving us, they really are trying to help us out, and they're making sure that everything is right for us. So if we are doing something that's wrong against our former chief, like not paying him wages that he was deserved for sick time or vacation time, we really need to pay him, regardless of what we feel happened with regards to $300-some thousand. He earned that money and we need to pay him. There's nothing about it, we have to take care of that. Something else was said with regards to one of the council members saying that there is somebody on the website that did something with regards to her and sexual harassment. If that occurred, we have to investigate that. Unfortunately, I myself, and I've never admitted this to anyone else before, have been the victim with regards to sexual harassment. That is something that needs to be taken seriously. We need to see, and not necessarily how to do it at this meeting, but we do need to take a look with regards to that and see what is going on. And if that person really did that, we cannot, as a borough, continue to hire that person. We just can't. We have to stand up against that. Somebody has to take a stand with regards to that. The other is just a request. When everybody here is attending these meetings because they are very interested in the borough. We all are very interested in this. Depending upon where we're sitting, some of us may not be able to see who's raising their hands. And I don't know if you're saying just raise the hand to make it more expedient, but if you could just use the names with regards to who's voting and who's not. It's going in the minutes anyway, but it would just make it easier for everybody to know how the votes are going. And then the last thing that I have to say is just a request with regards to the trees. I believe in the beauty of Yeadon, and I really like the trees on the streets. I think it makes the community much more beautiful. Make sure that if you're doing that with regards to the trees, that we're telling the residents if it's on their property, and that we're not just killing trees for the sake of killing them. So like if there are trees that are alive and doing well and well taken care of, and not an issue, not with electrical lines, they're not in the way, that we don't just kill trees with regards to not taking that into account. So that's basically all I had to say, and thank you all for listening to me.
Thank you.
Good evening, Lawrence Footman. I'm not giving my address. I just want to, this is directed at the mayor. I guess my question and concern is regardless of the current legal situation that is happening, it is utterly repulsive to me that the chief has not been paid. I think we can have different political ideology, different views of history of events, but we all say that we care about people at the heart of it. And so to put him and his family and not pay them for 2 months, to me, is utterly disgusting. We're not only a government, we are an employer. And if any of us were in a situation where we worked, and even if we were terminated, we left, any of that, you are required your pay. And if it's that you can't find a contract, then you need to figure it out. And so I would just ask the mayor before the next meeting, since you were his supervisor, that you will work with the appropriate parties to remedy this issue. I think it's totally unacceptable that a government institution is not paying a former employee. You've not only opened us up to a lawsuit, now we've compounded an existing lawsuit.
Pay the chief.
Because you have chosen not to pay him. And Mayor Hepkins, I am not saying that you chose to do this, but I think
you know, I just left the job and I still saw it as my responsibility to make sure that my direct report was good when I left. And so I don't understand how you can sit up here and focus on decorum, talk about badges, and somebody hasn't been paid for over 60 days. I don't want to hear about public safety meetings, community affairs, or anything, because if we can't do our basic responsibility as an employer, and we talk about being responsible, we talk about putting the community first. I've heard words of camaraderie. How can we talk about camaraderie when we are not paying a debt? And now we have an updated amendment to the existing filed lawsuit saying that he has not been paid. We talk about an embarrassment. Why has he not been paid? And we as residents, I understand it is an HR issue. I'm not finished. Am I done?
Yeah, no, you've got it.
Go ahead. I understand it's an HR issue, but I think it is completely unacceptable that there's any question that you don't know where a contract is and that he hasn't been paid. There is no way we can keep saying we want to move this borough forward. We want people to treat black people appropriate. We're talking about Juneteenth. We talk about all of these different things around equity and inclusion. I'm actually going to invite all of y'all to my office and media after I finish. And to think about how we are celebrating things of freedom. We're talking about, oh, our community, and we putting flowers out, and again, we are violating people's basic civil rights. And we talk about, oh, we want to get a grant from this person. Oh, we want to work with this county department. As the person leading the equity for the county at this point, I'm very concerned with how we're talking about we want to move the county forward, when I know these aren't the values that we talk about every day. And so I would just implore you as an employer, moving forward, to pay the chief.
Pay the chief.
Yeah, just a moment, yes. Because that's a personnel matter, and we're not allowed legally to discuss any personnel matter on this floor and with you to the public. And it's okay for you to express your observations, but we're not allowed to answer that. Thank you.
Can I respond to that? She did address me.
Mr. Mayor, you may respond.
To the extent that I can. Since you addressed it to me, I can say that I know that what we're talking about is not the chief's pay up for what he worked. It is other things that are owed that's on the docket. I can personally say, just like I didn't fire the chief, I can't pay the chief, but it is being reviewed as far as the hours or the discrepancy, and I'm hoping that that will be cleared up soon. Okay, so that much I can tell you.
Thank you, Mayor.
It's under consideration. I'm hoping it will be cleared up soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ms. Angela Lee?